7 days. That was the entire time frame it took to systematically dismantle one of the most significant Sinaloa cartel operations ever unearthed on United States soil. 600 arrests spread across 23 states. A criminal enterprise valued in the billions, neutralized in a single, perfectly coordinated strike. And the chain of events was triggered because a single German shepherd refused to proceed past a seemingly ordinary vehicle without signaling to her handler. This is the chronicle of how one canine operative led to the downfall of a criminal army. September 2025. The morning watch at a border checkpoint deep in Arizona. Agent Sarah Mitchell secured the lead to Luna, a 3-year-old German shepherd, a specialist in narcotics detection. The day was unfolding with a deceptive sense of routine. A procession of vehicles queued for inspection. Drivers presented their documents. Officers cross-referenced manifests. It was just another shift in the ceaseless campaign against narcotics trafficking. Luna navigated her tasks with an unnerving precision. Every vehicle was subjected to the same systematic examination. Her sense of smell was a constant, invisible torrent of data, processing thousands of olfactory signatures beyond human capacity. A commercial truck came up clean. A personal sedan? Negative. A panel van? Clear. Then, a white pickup truck with Texas license plates rolled forward. The man behind the wheel appeared composed, his answers to questioning delivered without hesitation. His registration was in order. There were no active warrants, nothing to raise suspicion. But Luna froze. Her entire posture shifted, ears locked forward, her body rigid with tension. She traced a path around the truck bed twice, then planted herself firmly on the ground, staring intently at the rear panel. The passive alert. Mitchell could feel her own heart rate accelerate. In 2 years of service, Luna had never once produced a false positive. Officers closed in on the vehicle. The driver maintained the truck was empty, claiming he was merely heading home after a business trip. The truck bed looked sterile. There was no visible cargo, yet a more detailed look revealed the subtle glint of fresh welding marks along the interior panel. This truck had been recently and professionally altered. With hydraulic tools, the agents forced the false wall open. Inside, a hidden compartment was packed with vacuum-sealed bricks. 40 kilograms of pure fentanyl, a quantity sufficient to cause millions of deaths. The driver was taken into custody on the spot. Under interrogation, he insisted he was a low-level courier, paid only to transport the vehicle from one point to another. No questions asked. His cell phone, however, painted a far more complex picture. A web of text messages, contacts, and GPS coordinates revealed the truth. This was not some lone wolf smuggler. He was a single component in a vast and intricate machine. Analysts at the Drug Enforcement Administration began their work, meticulously tracing the phone numbers. They constructed maps of the GPS locations. They cross-referenced every lead against a database of ongoing, seemingly unrelated investigations. Their discovery was chilling. This one driver was a link in a chain that stretched across the entire nation. The Sinaloa cartel had engineered an infrastructure so advanced, so pervasively embedded, that hundreds of their operatives were moving narcotics through American cities daily, completely undetected. The Sinaloa cartel is not a street-level gang. It is one of the planet's most formidable criminal syndicates, the architects of the sophisticated tunnel systems running beneath the Mexican border. They have corrupted officials at every tier of government and laundered billions in drug proceeds through a network of legitimate business fronts. Intelligence assessments indicated they had more than 600 operatives integrated into communities across the United States. DEA command was at a strategic crossroads. Apprehending a single courier was meaningless. The cartel would have him replaced within a day. The only viable strategy was a simultaneous, crippling blow to sever every branch of the organization at the exact same moment. Any other approach would only serve as a warning, allowing the network to retreat deeper into the shadows. Special Agent in Charge Marcus Webb assumed command of what would become the most extensive, coordinated drug interdiction in modern history. He was given 7 days, 1 week to orchestrate simultaneous raids across 23 states. This meant navigating 23 separate jurisdictions, each with its own laws, its own protocols, and its own chains of command. The logistical complexity was almost insurmountable. Webb formed a task force of 400 federal agents. The DEA, FBI, ATF, and Border Patrol, alongside local police departments, committed to a unified command. State troopers began positioning their assets. Every agency that signed on was fully aware of what was at stake. This was more than just another drug bust. This represented a singular opportunity to permanently cripple the Sinaloa cartel's operations within the United States. Intelligence analysts worked non-stop. They pinpointed distribution hubs in Chicago, identified stash houses in Atlanta, and unmasked money laundering schemes operating out of Miami. They located production facilities in remote rural counties and tracked couriers transporting product along the nation's interstate highways. The network was immense, but for the first time, it was fully mapped. Every target was assigned a code name, beginning with Alpha and running through Zulu. They then began again with alphanumeric designators, Alpha 1, Alpha 2. When the targeting list was finalized, it contained over 200 locations slated for simultaneous assault. Tactical teams pored over blueprints. They rehearsed entry protocols. They synchronized their watches, coordinating every action down to the second. Luna's initial alert had been the single, unassuming thread. Now, federal investigators had pulled on it until the entire, sprawling web was exposed to the light. The investigation began in the silent world of data, where phone logs sketched a web of conspiracy and financial analysis, illuminated the rivers of cash that fueled an empire. Grainy surveillance footage captured clandestine meetings between mid-level managers. The cartel had become dangerously comfortable. They operated under the fatal assumption that their sheer scale granted them anonymity. They were mistaken. September 23rd, at 3 o'clock in the morning, the coordinated strike began. In Los Angeles, within a desolate industrial park, a warehouse found itself silently encircled by SWAT operators. The breach was sudden. Inside, they discovered a production line packaging narcotics for the streets. 22 arrests were made on site. The haul was 3 tons of methamphetamine. Meanwhile, in Houston, teams descended on a quiet suburban home that concealed a regional command center. Within its walls, they uncovered the ledgers, the meticulous accounting of a poison being shipped across the southern United States. The owner of the home, a man who coached children's baseball on weekends, was a regional director for the organization. He was taken into custody in his own kitchen. Near Phoenix, federal agents intercepted a convoy of 5 vehicles making a desperate run for the Mexican border. Every driver was a known target on the list. All 5 were captured before they could escape American jurisdiction. In New York City, agents simultaneously executed warrants on 4 separate fronts: apartments, storage lockers, a small grocery in Queens, and a taxi dispatch office in Brooklyn. Each location was a critical node in the same sprawling web. 43 individuals were detained in less than 2 hours. An operation of this magnitude had never been attempted. The takedowns unfolded in major cities and forgotten towns, from coastal territories to heartland states, Washington to Florida, California to Massachusetts. Every unit moved as one. Each arrest was calculated to sever communications to prevent a single warning from spreading. By sunrise, the machine of justice was operating at full capacity. The wave of suspects being brought in was so immense that local booking systems were immediately overwhelmed. Police evidence rooms began to overflow with the cartel's confiscated inventory. As this happened, financial crime units began to systematically freeze the bank accounts that were the organization's lifeblood. The Sinaloa cartel's American infrastructure was being surgically dismantled. Some suspects surrendered the moment they were confronted. Others attempted a futile escape, but every possible escape route had been anticipated. State troopers had roadblocks in place. Airports were already circulating watch lists. Border crossings were elevated to the highest alert. The trap was sealed. There was nowhere to go. In Chicago, agents breached a logistics company that served as a pipeline, hiding drugs inside legitimate shipments of automotive parts. Its owner had lived under the delusion of a perfect cover. He was wrong. 17 of his employees were arrested. 12 of the company's vehicles were seized. A forensic accounting of his records revealed $8 million in cartel payments over a period of 3 years. In Atlanta, the money trail led to a high-end car dealership being used as a money laundering front. The scheme involved customers using cash to purchase luxury vehicles, which were then immediately shipped out of the country and resold. The cleaned profits were then funneled back to cartel leadership in Mexico. Federal teams seized the dealership's assets and arrested the entire sales force. The final count was 13 people taken into custody, all confirmed links in the chain. In Dallas, a storage complex, with units rented under false identities, was found to contain enough fentanyl to supply the entire region for several months. The manager on duty claimed he knew nothing, But surveillance video told a different story, showing him personally receiving the illicit deliveries and preventing access to specific units. He was arrested with the very men who had rented the lockers. As the week progressed, the operation built a relentless momentum, with each day bringing more arrests, more seizures, and more pieces of the conspiracy falling into place. The cartel's network desperately tried to adapt. Operatives went dark, burner phones were destroyed, safe houses were abandoned in the night. But the damage had been done. The organization was exposed. By the fifth day, more than 400 arrests had been logged. The forward momentum was unstoppable. Investigators followed every lead, turning every phone number into a new suspect. Every confiscated computer hard drive revealed yet more contacts. The investigation was now feeding itself, growing more powerful by the hour. On the seventh day, the final wave of arrests was executed, as the high-level coordinators who had been under intense surveillance were finally taken into custody. These were not the common street-level dealers. These were the educated, white-collar facilitators, the accountants, the lawyers, the business owners, people who maintained a facade of legitimacy while enabling a vast criminal empire. When the operation finally concluded, the numbers were staggering: 612 arrests. This was not an estimate. It was an exact count. 612 individuals were in custody across 23 states. The seized assets included over 8 tons of narcotics, predominantly fentanyl and methamphetamine, $18 million in cash, 47 vehicles, and 23 separate properties, as well as financial accounts totaling more than $90 million. The Drug Enforcement Administration issued a formal statement. The reach of the Sinaloa cartel, they said, had been vast and unyielding, but this operation was definitive proof that no network is too large to be dismantled. No organization is untouchable when law enforcement agencies coordinate as one. And it all began with a single K9 unit doing her job. Luna, the dog, could not comprehend the scale of what she had set in motion. She simply detected a scent and alerted her handler. That is what she had been trained to do. But that one simple alert became the catalyst for one of the most successful intelligence-led operations against organized crime in American history. In the hierarchy of law enforcement, K9 units operate in a world apart. They don't wear tailored suits or deliver statements to the press. They are immune to the promotions and commendations that motivate human officers. Their singular virtue is something far more rare. They are incorruptible. A dog cannot be swayed by a bribe. It cannot be broken by a threat. And it can never be persuaded to simply look the other way. Their work is a study in absolute loyalty and cold precision. Armed with the results of that work, federal prosecutors brought charges under the Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act. The indictments included racketeering, conspiracy to distribute a controlled substance, and money laundering. The case file was a fortress of evidence. Phone records, labyrinthine financial trails, the seized narcotics themselves, and the damning testimonies of operatives who chose cooperation over longer sentences. The prosecution's case was airtight. Sentencing would unfold over years, but the effect on the street was immediate. The Sinaloa cartel's operations in America had been dealt a paralyzing blow. Supply chains were severed. Distribution networks went dark. Millions of dollars in projected drug revenue simply vanished. But the most significant outcome was measured in human life. Every kilogram of fentanyl taken off the street represented thousands of potential overdose deaths that would never occur. The operation laid bare a fundamental truth. A cartel may have unlimited money. It may have an army of personnel. It may employ sophisticated and brutal methods, but it cannot withstand a coordinated law enforcement assault, one fortified by technology, deep intelligence, and the primal, unwavering instincts of a canine. Agent Mitchell still stands his post at the border checkpoint. Luna still scrutinizes every vehicle that passes her way. The work persists because the war itself never truly ends. The cartels adapt. New networks will always rise from the ashes of the old. But every day, K9 units across the nation are making the alerts that trigger investigations and unravel entire criminal operations. One dog, 600 arrests, 7 days. That is the stark power of modern law enforcement. When agencies synchronize, when intelligence becomes a shared weapon, when all resources are focused on a single point, the system works. Justice is delivered. If you believe these silent canine partners deserve recognition for their role in bringing down cartels, show it by liking this report. Subscribe to Justice Chronicles to witness the stories the mainstream media is unwilling to tell. Comment the word justice if you stand with the agents and their canine teams fighting this war for us every single day. Because as you watch this, dogs just like Luna are out on the line, acting as a shield for our communities, stopping the flow of poison to our streets, and dismantling criminal empires, one silent alert at a time. Model. In the shadows of our borders, a war is fought not just with advanced technology, but with pure instinct and unwavering loyalty. The story of Luna and the dismantling of a multi-billion-dollar empire reminds us of a profound truth. Justice often hinges on the smallest threads of integrity. While a criminal machine built walls of greed, fear, and corruption, a single, incorruptible heart wrapped in the fur of a German shepherd tore it all down. This victory wasn't merely a statistic of 600 arrests. It was a heartbeat for the thousands of families who will never have to mourn a loved one lost to the poison of fentanyl. It teaches us that no evil is too vast to be broken when we stand united. When we remain vigilant in the small moments, we prevent the grand tragedies. Let this be a testament to the silent guardians who patrol the line, asking for no praise, only our safety. Integrity is our greatest shield. When we choose to do what is right consistently, fearlessly, and together, we don't just enforce the law, we protect the very soul of our communities. Stand with the protectors, value the silent alerts. Because every life saved is a battle won for humanity.